And then I will turn it over to Councilmember Harmon.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Barbara. Thank you, everybody from USBACT. And thank you guys for being here. I am Meagan Harmon. I am the District 6 representative to the City Council. And I also live right by the Carrillo Castillo Commuter Lot. So I really wanted to start with that, just to say that I do totally understand how complicated this lot has been for us and for our neighborhood. There's been a lot of ideas, a lot of initiatives, a lot of really difficult conversations. And along with that, we've had some really serious impacts in our neighborhoods, particularly right there by the commuter lot, from our unhoused neighbors, and trying to figure out how we can best serve those folks who really do need our assistance, and how we can maintain the character and quality of our neighborhoods and our safety. So I did want to start with that and just say I so understand. This is my life, my everyday life too. So what we wanted to do tonight really is to just begin the conversation, and really share information from the very start about what we're going to be doing at the Carrillo Castillo Commuter Lot, and how, in my view, it's really going to serve everyone in our neighborhood, unhoused residents who live and are housed right there in that area like I am. I mean, I think this is really going to be a positive thing for our neighborhood in particular. So I'm not going to spend too much time talking here because I need to turn it over to the experts who are really going to explain to us in depth what's happening here and what we can expect in the future. But I did want to say two things before I turn it over to Jeff, and that is, this is an ongoing conversation. This is just the start for us. We want the neighbors to be engaged, involved, and to feel comfortable and excited about what this means for the positive movement in the fight against homelessness in our community. And I really do believe this is a positive step for our neighborhood specifically. And the second thing, please, I know Jeff and Barbara and everyone on the team will say this, you can reach out to them, but please always feel free to contact me directly. If you have questions that come up out of tonight's session, or a question that might occur to you as you're just passing by the Neighborhood Navigation Center a month or two from now, I'll put my email and my cell phone in the chat. And I am very, very happy and in fact would be honored to do that work of kind of getting you the information that you need so that we can all feel comfortable, safe, and at home in our neighborhoods. So with all that, I'm going to step back and I'm really going to let the experts do the talking today. So I thank them very much for taking the time tonight to chat with all of us. And thank you all for being here. And I love this about our neighborhood, that we are engaged and we care and are passionate about all our neighbors, including those that are struggling with homelessness. So with all that, thank you for being here. And I will turn it, I think, now to Jeff.
Thank you, Councilmember Harmon. Thank you, Barbara. And thanks everyone for being on the call. As far as USBACT, we kind of serve as the backbone organization around homelessness as a whole, for the coordinating it for the city. And just to let everyone on the call know, half of my time is spent on working with the community on the impacts the community faces, as well as the impacts of homelessness upon individuals or families. So when we say you can contact us anytime, I'm not kidding. I get emails all the time. I get calls all the time from concerned community members, and I try to work with all the partners to mitigate those situations. So feel free to contact me at any time. The purpose of the call is also to kind of explain what an NNC is and kind of what an NNC isn't, what a Neighborhood Navigation Center is trying to do. It kind of grew grassroots out of meal sharings that happen with people on the streets. And as these meal sharings have happened, sponsored by faith communities, we began to recognize that we didn't want to just do relief. We just didn't want to feed people in the parks or in the city. We wanted to engage with all the service providers that could end up being connecting people to more solutions. So I really want to applaud, and I'll be inviting Maggie and Maureen to speak in a moment, but both Maggie and Maureen have been involved for quite some time, and they've taken it really to the next level of what we call a Neighborhood Navigation Center. So the idea is that most people experiencing homelessness usually travel within 8 to 10 blocks in any given day. And to have the greatest success when it comes to actually helping individuals experiencing homelessness choose to move forward toward, whether it be a program, whether it be shelter, bridge housing, whatever it is, you have to meet people where they are in a dignified space. And you have to create a space where they know every week they can come and feel welcome and have the services they need to be instantly kind of provided for them. So really what we're trying to do is create this dignified space. We invite multiple partners. So we start talking about what's going to be happening at the commuter lot, beginning our soft launch date. We're looking at, just so everyone knows, we're looking at August 10th from 10 to 1 p.m., from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. on the afternoon. So a 3-hour segment where people can come and receive services, where USBACT will be there as the coordinating agency before and after to make sure that people are not loitering afterwards. But the idea is we'll have Doctors Without Walls there. We'll have CityNet doing case management. We'll have behavioral wellness. We'll have Showers of Blessing, as well as a few other partners that are just solution-based. Behavioral wellness, I don't know if I've mentioned behavioral wellness. So it's not the same amount of partners you currently see at Almeda Park. We really wanted to launch just with our solution-based partners in order to make sure that our focus is really beginning to get to know these individuals, work with case management, start to get them document ready, and moving out of homelessness. A key concept I talk about all the time is this idea of an open window. So you never know when an individual is going to say, you know what, you've talked to me 14 times about do I want housing, and I finally feel like right now I'm ready, or right now I'm finally ready to go to detox. And so having this space there available all the time leads to greater success. We know we have a study from CityNet where it took them 19 contacts with somebody who was chronically homeless before they started this open window process. So these centers kind of really serve as making that happen. So CityNet's going to be providing case management. Behavioral wellness will be offering mental health case management services, which I know if you are downtown, we know that we have individuals that need mental health services that are experiencing homelessness. This is why we believe that the Neighborhood Navigation Center model is going to help us reduce the impacts of homelessness on the community and on the people themselves, because people are going to begin to become clients of behavioral wellness where before they were not clients. They're going to begin to become clients of CityNet where before they were not clients. So that's going to move them through the system so they will get their needs met. Doctors Without Walls will serve as free medical care at certain levels. I'll let Maggie kind of talk about what that means, but they're also going to be referring people. If they can't meet the need of the medical services that are needed right then, they're going to refer people to where they need to go. They've also been very key in the health of the community, as they've been one of the key sponsors in making sure that our homeless population is getting vaccinated. So they're on the forefront of the kind of the medical care for people on the streets, which both saves lives when it comes to people on the streets and also ultimately saves us funding. Showers of Blessing will be a key partner because of the dignity they also bring to people on the streets. If you've ever seen the way they run their program, it's pretty amazing. I invite everyone as well at some point if you want to come down and see how the whole thing,
large scale outages in
how
the
the whole
Denver area.
thing.
We do not have an estimated restoration.
Sorry, someone else come on there. But I wanted to just say Showers of Blessing, they create a very dignified space. Because of the showers and because of the items they often offer, it leads to employment. It leads to people feeling better about themselves so they can make decisions moving forward. And they're also one of the key partners in the community that actually hires people experiencing homelessness. So that's a big help for the community as well. And we've learned from them. We've started to stipend some people we're working with who have experienced homelessness. We work directly with the city. So we're going to go through everything as far as legal documents and insurance related to what the city desires. We will have the SBPD on speed dial. We're not asking for them to be on site because oftentimes the interactions, how people on the streets interact with law enforcement or the safety they feel, if law enforcement had presence there, that might be a problem. But I have Lieutenant Christian on speed dial, so if any issue comes up, we are definitely going to be able to have quick response from the PD as well.
And I want to add, Jeff, they've agreed to do rounds about
Right.
an hour past closure, again, just to make sure that we're mitigating any impacts to that region after we close the NNC.
Last thing I think I've already mentioned is that we have a regular meeting with all of our partners once a week to make sure that all the NNCs are running well. If there are any issues that we need to work on as far as with the community, that's where we can work it out and run an NNC better if needed. You have my email, you have my phone number. So if there are concerns related to the NNC in the region, please let me know right away, because we will respond as quickly as we can. I think I went through that really quickly. We can have questions in the moment. Barbara, is there anything that I didn't cover that I should cover regarding just the Neighborhood Navigation Center as a whole?
Well, I think, the neighbors obviously know that Showers of Blessings and Doctors Without Walls have been there on Tuesdays. It really was a way for us to assess, not only are we able to serve individuals experiencing homelessness in multiple regions, that is a very central location to people from Pershing, West Side, State Street, downtown, and the numbers of people. So we wanted to make sure that the number was manageable, much like it is in Alameda Park. So it's been kind of our way of just, again, assessing, understanding, is this going to be an ideal location for us to formalize services? We also have just one corner of that lot. So it will not be taking over the lot. There's still commuters that park there. We want to make sure that that is open and for use by anyone who needs it. So the number of providers, as Jeff has mentioned, is going to be less than what Alameda Park currently has. We're also waiting to provide meal provision. Again, because we know folks, do need that level of nourishment and to come maybe just for a meal and not necessarily to partake in services. What we're really trying to do, because there is so much good happening in our neighborhoods and our community in terms of providing meals, providing resources to individuals experiencing homelessness, this really is a way to bring everyone to one place 1 day a week. So we're using the meal and the relationship building that has happened over the past 10 years to now make sure that we're taking that trusted relationship and connecting that individual to case management and outreach, which gets them on that solution-oriented path, as Jeff mentioned. So it really is this opportunity to be much more strategic about the services that are being provided, coordinating, communicating regularly, and really looking at, are we reducing the individuals experiencing homelessness in that region because of the coordination of service delivery at that location? So we're able to collect data, monitor that data, as well as collect data on the number of individuals remaining in that location at closure. So in Alameda Park, we actually have a couple of partners, including myself, that live right nearby. So we've been able to capture data the morning of the NNC and the morning after the NNC to be able to, again, demonstrate that the NNC itself doesn't increase impacts to the neighborhood, but that location has been chosen because we know it's accessible to individuals experiencing homelessness so that we can provide that much needed coordinated care.
So we also have a regular all-call meeting that you can join in to learn about SBACT's work as a whole. That's also a public meeting of transparency where you can answer questions. We report to the city on a regular basis. So I think Laura was on this call. So I know you can reach out to Laura if you have any questions regarding our overall work. But I think we've said enough generally about from our position. I want to hand it over now to Maggie Sanchez. She is the Secretary Treasurer for Doctors Without Walls Santa Barbara, has been involved in working with people on the streets similar around 2005, 2006, similar to, we worked together a lot at the Pershing Park meal sharing and the Alameda Park meal sharing. So I'm going to hand it over to Maggie for her perspective as well. Thanks, Maggie.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you, Jeff. My name is Maggie Sanchez. I'm a founding member and a volunteer with Doctors Without Walls Santa Barbara Street Medicine. Doctors Without Walls was founded in 2008, and for 13 years, we have provided free medical care to the unsheltered populations who live in South Santa Barbara County. In many of my years of serving the homeless and working poor, I've repeatedly witnessed how difficult it is for the people we serve to receive the help they need in order to successfully exit the state of homelessness. It has always been Doctors Without Walls' vision to collaborate with agencies who serve the same populations we serve, to create a safe place where the unsheltered can receive assistance with medical and mental health care, to receiving showers and food as well as clothing such as socks and underwear, to begin to work with a case manager in order to enter transitional housing and eventually to be placed in permanent housing. I mean, that is the goal here. The neighborhood navigation centers are such a place because they are built to support the needs of the unsheltered who live in your neighborhood. Doctors Without Walls has been present at the Carrillo Commuter Lot outreach location since inception. We firmly believe that this location will benefit the unsheltered we serve by bringing together collaborative partners who provide much needed services that will help transition people who live on the streets into permanent housing and the supportive services they need in order to stay housed. So this is just the beginning of the process at this particular NNC. I've watched Alameda grow into a wonderful, wonderful location where people come together and people collaborate, and Doctors Without Walls is now able to refer people directly into behavioral health. We're able to refer people directly into, what we call reunification. We're able to use a Santa Barbara Resource Network to, bridge people into the different services that we need. So I did a site visit last week at the location, and I was so pleasantly surprised at how lovely it is and how peaceful it was and how the really, really good work that's being done there by the partners. So I encourage everyone who's involved in this call to be aware of the fact that this is probably the best location that we could use right now in our city, where we would do the most good and help the most people. Thank you.
Thanks, Maggie. And I'm going to introduce Maureen Ellenberger to you now. She's going to share as well. She's been a big part of the Food Bag Collaborative, making sure people did not go hungry during COVID. She's been a big partner in taking the NNC to a greater place. So Maureen, thanks for all your work. So she's seen it grow into what it is as well. So Maureen, share your thoughts, and then I think we're going to open it to questions or concerns from the community.
Thanks, Jeff. I'll only take a few minutes here. First, I want to tell you that I'm wishing I wasn't going last, because all the things that you guys said were on my list. So I'm going to focus on what's in it for me as a neighbor or a community member, because that's where we're all kind of encouraging you guys to be engaged and to understand what's going on. But maybe if I tell you just a few things about how I got involved and what I see as the most important things, and as Jeff said, the growth, perhaps that can give you some context for when you have questions. And I am also always available to talk with people, have coffee with people, go for a walk with people, whatever. So first of all, I live next to a park, and I am well aware of what it's like to live next to a place where there are a lot of different people coming and going, and sometimes not going and staying. So I understand what it's like to live in a neighborhood with that happening. But I just want to tell you just quickly. So last March, at the very beginning of COVID, I met Maggie Sanchez for the first time, and we were working on a grant together. I was on the research committee for the Women's Fund, and Maggie and I became fast friends at that very moment when we met. But the most important thing is, when May came around and things had been closed for a while, Maggie shared with me that doctors were telling her and the folks that were out on the street trying to help folks that people were starving and they were hungry, because most of the places where they had gone to either get a meal share or restaurants where they could get extra food, or even the trash bins, were empty. And we decided to start something called the Food Bag Collaborative. That's how I got involved with USBACT. USBACT helped us by becoming our fiduciary for us to put money, have money donated to do this. So for 11 months, Maggie and I started out in my garage, putting together bags of non-perishable food. And we had no idea what would happen. So the first set of bags we put together, we put 100 bags together, and we went out, and they were gone in 2 sessions. The first one, 75 meals, 75 bags of food. And we tried to put 3 days worth of food that we thought would be nutritious in those bags. And so we realized that there was a need. We ended up raising over $90,000, much of that from the county. We got a lot of support from the county, but also from private folks, churches. We had a lot of support from groups to put our food together, church groups, etc. But the thing I learned through all that is I had never been in contact with the homeless community directly before that. I will say that for me, it was eye-opening. I will also tell you that the graciousness and the gratefulness of what we were blessed with when we gave people food that helped them was a miracle. But while we were doing that, Maggie and I saw that the COVID situation gave us an opportunity to work on something that was more sustainable, supportable, and what we thought of as a stable way of trying to help people find housing. Because at the end of the day, what our goal is to find people a way to get into housing. And we know that in Santa Barbara, that's a very difficult thing. So we started working on some concepts that were shared with us from people up in Northern California. And we were calling them holistic support centers. We went to Barbara and Jeff and USBACT, and it became the neighborhood navigation centers. So our little group of 4 intrepid writers and authors and creators sat down together every Monday morning. There were 4 of us. Then there were 5 of us. I was on the call this Monday. There were 20 folks on this call. There were people from the city. There were people from all the different organizations that Jeff mentioned that are part of this. And what we're seeing, what we see at Almeda Park and what we're hoping to see at Carrillo is a way for folks to find some stability, some support. And I would say most of all, some hope that there are some choices for them that they didn't know about. And I've learned from all the time I've spent, and I won't say out on the street because I'm not out on the street. I have a wonderful home and a wonderful place to live. But what I hear from them is that these opportunities are things that they don't want to waste, and they really like the opportunity. That's not every single person, but that is a great majority of them. So I really want to put it out there that, as Jeff said, I totally encourage you, and Maggie said, to visit and see the site, and perhaps even visit Alameda on a Thursday night and see the meal share and see all the partners working and see all the communication that's happening. It's unbelievably wonderful to see. It's also wonderful to be thanked so many times. I've never felt so blessed as I have by the people that I have worked with. But I also encourage you to come to our Monday morning meetings, not to get sucked into our little adventure, but to hear what happens and how problems are solved. Because I'll tell one more quick story and then I'll be quiet. I read in the paper in Newshawk one day, a quote from my council member, Mike Jordan. And it frustrated me to no end that I felt like he didn't really understand what was happening and why neighborhood navigation centers were really important. So I sent him an email. So heads up, all you council members, be prepared. So I sent a note to Mike, and I didn't tell Jeff, Barbara, or Maggie that I was doing it. I just went ahead and did it. And I got a note back right away. I was so surprised. And he said, well, let's meet for coffee. So we met for coffee. 3 hours later, Mike and I left. We were friends. He was so afraid that all I wanted to do was sit there and yell at him. But no, I wanted to explain to him why I thought the things that we were working on were so important, the reputability, the sustainability, and all those things. He promised that he would come to Alameda and see what was going on. He now comes to every call on Monday mornings. He is one of our biggest supporters. And he is what I would say a true supporter of finding solutions to this. to this problem that we have. Finally, I'll say that I think if we can't fix this in Santa Barbara and figure out our housing and our homeless problems, and we don't recognize them and understand what needs to be in place from an institutional perspective to do this, then we won't be able to fix it anywhere. Because while our problem is big to all of us, because we all have to live with it, it's actually small compared to many other places. And we have now the opportunity with so many people engaged to really move forward on this. And there are some new things coming in the housing space that I'm quite excited about and hope to participate in. And I hope that perhaps some of you might join me. So thank you. And I am available for questions as well.
That's pretty good. We got our part done in a half hour. So now we open it up to anything from the neighborhood. Any questions, concerns, comments? You can put them in the chat, or you can just raise your hand. Kayla will be looking in the chat to find if there's any questions there, but feel free to ask anything. This is the time, really. This is why we're having this meeting, so we can be upfront about anything. Go ahead, Sarah. Thank you.
I'll start with a quick question. So I live very close to the lot, and I've seen the Showers of Blessing and the work that they've been doing for months on Tuesdays. My sister, who lives with me too, started volunteering with them. So we love what they're doing. So it doesn't sound to me like things are going to change from a resident's perspective, from a neighbor's perspective. It doesn't sound like things are going to change that much. It's going to be that same time frame, at least for now. And just more services will be provided, which I think is wonderful. But it doesn't seem like it's going to impact us as far as more time. I mean, maybe more people, but am I getting the general gist of it correct in that regard?
That's our hope and our desire. I think there might be more people, but so as Barbara mentioned, when I go to Alameda Park every night, we keep data on how many people are coming, and I keep data every night on how many people are staying at the park once I leave. So I can show, there'd be people at the parks if we were there or not. I mean, people on the streets are staying at the parks. So we do try to mitigate if things increase, like on a Tuesday at 4 p.m., if people are hanging out at 4 o'clock into Wednesday, that's when we have to do something different in order to make sure that that's not happening. Our goal is to create a time period between that. People are going to arrive. My understanding is people are going to arrive maybe an hour to 2 hours before and get their spot. And we will try to have everything done by taken down, put away by 2 p.m. And hopefully there's no later impacts on that commuter lot. To me, that's the goal. And the goal is not to see that some of these people that are coming are no longer coming because they're housed or they've had a reunification. I mean, ultimately, that's our ultimate goal upon goal.
Jeff, we've got a question in the chat from Judy. She asked if we could repeat the specific services that will be provided at the Carrillo lot, and then the days, the times, and then kind of what the setup might look like. Do you want to take that?
Yeah, Kaylin, I don't know if you have that map. You've created a little map that you could actually probably share. Services that will be there will be Doctors Without Walls, Showers of Blessing, Behavioral Wellness, CityNet. I believe that's all on a regular basis. Maggie, am I missing something?
No, I do think though at some point in time we will do a distribution of food, although it won't be a formal meal share, and there could be some clothing.
Yeah, so there will be a meal sharing at some point wherein we are going to come back to the community and let everyone know about that piece. But we also have to work through public health. If it's going to be a meal sharing that comes through a licensed kitchen, or if it's just coming from a restaurant. So there's some other steps we want to do before we get to that stage. Do I need to make you, Kayla, your host as well? So can you share your screen with that map?
I'm pulling it up right now, so I'll do that in a second.
So we have a little map that Kayla designed, kind of showing what the We're actually going to work with the city too on beautification of the area. So the city's stepping up to be on top of it as far as creating an environment, a clean environment from their perspective too. So there shouldn't be any issues with trash or anything like that related to the meal sharing either. We clean up after Alameda, we clean up everything and make sure there's nothing left behind. As Kayla finds it, we can continue with questions if anyone else has any questions.
Jeff, I think there's another question in the chat.
Oh, yeah. You know, I don't have an answer for the housing piece. I know it's been considered there, so it may change ultimately. The site may have to change related to that site being used for something else that's more sustainable. I've heard that in the past, but I'm honestly not aware of where that is right now. Rob's on the call. I don't know if he's aware of anything related to housing going back in on that lot at some point, because I think, Rob, you were looking at it, so that could be a couple years from now.
Yeah, it would still be a year and a half to a couple years away. We are still, that is our goal, to provide permanent housing that is targeted and affordable to moderate income households there. And I apologize to the community that it's taken so long to get back in front of City Council on that. We're just now finalizing our pro formas to make it work. But even from the time that we would get in front of City Council and get further approvals from them on that, it would take another year or so to get our entitlements to move forward, and then probably another 6 to 9 months to finalize building plans where they're building permit ready. So it's some time off to get that moving.
If it's all right with everyone, I'm going to share my screen really quickly to show us this little diagram of what our tentative plan will look like. So right now it's a kind of a mock-up of what we're talking about. So showers of blessing, they take up that second set between the two planters. These gray little bars mark kind of the planters. So they occupy that space like they do right now. So nothing will change for them. And then we have the Doctors Without Walls van and table, kind of sectioned off by a parking spot. This is our tentative plan. Things might change given what the city might inform us about. Behavioral wellness will have a van and a table, and then we have an USBACT reunification hub. So that is a table that'll be used by an USBACT member volunteer. I think Raj might be there, I don't know, just to help people find out pathways into reunification. So that is what it will look like. And all of these spots that say parking will still remain parking for commuters or for people in the safe parking program.
Kayla,
Go
sorry.
ahead, Maureen.
Isn't CityNet also there?
Yeah, so right now, CityNet was supposed to have the spots behind Showers of Blessing, but just got news from Showers of Blessing that they take up all 7 spaces. So we'll have to figure out if we might need to shimmy everybody over in the first section and figure out how to fit CityNet in as well. So CityNet will be there, but right now we're still trying to logistically figure out where their table will go. But it will all be in that back section. We'll have to do some Tetris.
And Daisy, you have a question. Sarah, I'll get to you in a second. Daisy, you have a question on what our work is. We have created a 3-year strategic plan for the city, including increasing the number of shelter beds, bridge housing units, housing units. So yes, we do advocacy, but we also do working with all of our partners, including the Housing Authority and other partners, to increase our housing opportunities for people. So if anyone has an interest in the 3-year plan, you can email Barbara at sbact.org, and she has all the information on what that 3-year plan is. Sarah, did you have another question?
I do, and this might seem like a very petty question, but anyone who lives in the direct neighborhood will know that it's not a petty question, and that is, will the people who are coming to volunteer and work during the hours from 10 to 1 on Tuesday, will they be allowed to park in the parking lot? And I hope the answer is yes, that they're not going to take our very precious street parking spots.
Ah, very good. I don't know if we've looked at that question, but I'm sure the city is going to work with us on that. Laura, can I seek some wisdom, or Liz, on that question? I know we may have to reach back out to parking, but I think that's a very good question.
Yeah, Jeff, thank you. I was just gonna actually say that it would be more of a parking call on that one. It looks like the lot that you have the map out on is pretty busy there. So I don't know how we would have parking available in there, but maybe you kind of can see if that's been put into that map that you just showed, if there's an area of parking there that could be utilized for the people that are staffing that lot.
We have some meetings coming. Go ahead.
Yeah, it's Liz.
There's Liz.
Go ahead, Liz.
Yeah, hi. Jumping in on, we actually have a meeting tomorrow with Jeff and Kayla and Public Works parking, so we can discuss that. So that's a really great question to bring up. Thank you.
And before we close that subject, I would guess that there may be people coming to get services that also have cars. They may not have a shelter, but they may have a car. And it just would be great for the neighborhood if it can be completely self-contained within the parking lot. Because I'll just take this opportunity to say, I love everything that you guys are saying. We also love the idea of more affordable housing in Santa Barbara. We know that's huge and important. I don't object to there being housing on the lot, but the street is so impacted with parking. And so many of us who live here don't have driveways or parking, and we depend on the off-street or the on-street parking. And so that what happens at the lot impacts us in various ways. And that's my 2 cents.
So it'll be top of the agenda tomorrow, Liz, right? We can put it on the agenda tomorrow to make sure we have this conversation. I
made a note.
If you'd like a follow-up email about that, if you wouldn't mind putting your email into the chat for us, once we get information on this, either Kayla or I will get back to you with an answer on this parking question, because I think it's a valid question. Kayla, can you just follow up with collecting the emails so people put them in the chat to follow up? All right. Any other questions or concerns regarding the Neighborhood Navigation Center? Well, thank you. Thanks everyone for jumping on the call. Like I said, you have our contact information. Glad to be able to let you go if you want to watch some of the Olympics. I joked around today that they should have a gold medal for Zoom call Olympics, because that has definitely, I would be in the running. I don't know who else would be in the running, but so I really appreciate you all finding time on a Wednesday night to join us and have an interest in this issue and just have an interest in homelessness as a whole. Really appreciate it. So I hope you will all have a great rest of the evening. And we will get back to those of you regarding the parking question when we have the answer. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you all.
Thank you.